Welcome back, everybody, to Recovery Corner. We are your hosts, Candace Rose.
And I am Jesse Hayner.
Today, we'd like to welcome Thomas Guerra and David Enrique onto the show. On today's episode, we will hear the recovery experience from our guest and learn about how they're making a difference for recovery in Miami, Florida. Thomas is the founder of Miami Recovery Project, and we've brought his friend David Enrique, who is a musician, and he's putting recovery in the spotlight with his music. So welcome to the show, you two.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, guys? Great to be here.
Yes. Well, thanks for coming on. We're excited. We got a chance to meet up last week and kind of talk and get to know one another. You guys got some really cool stuff going down there in Miami. Really exciting things with your projects and your individual recovery. But I'm super excited, man. Every week I say we have another good show for you, but I really mean it. We have another good show for you today. And I'm super stoked to hear both your guys' story of long-term recovery and kind of a little bit what you guys come from individually and kind of how your paths somehow or some way, right, kind of just did one of these, right, and kind of connected. And then now you guys are like this, doing things together. That's kind of how recovery works, right? It's just this big, the universe kind of puts us together and sets us on our mark, if you will. So Thomas, David, thanks again for being here. I guess we'll kind of start with Thomas. And we can kind of go back and forth because we want to hear from kind of both you guys, and you can interject whenever you want. But Thomas, tell us about who you are, where you're from, and a little bit of your story.
Sure. Again, thanks for having us. So my name's Thomas Guerra. I am a person in long-term recovery. For me, that means I haven't had a drink or a drug since September 12th, 2014. Just came up on 7 years.
Yes.
That's the longest I've ever had in recovery, and I intend to keep it. I've had a couple bumps in the road, having 2 years, having 3 years. But I learned from them, and, I learned the most important part of my recovery is helping other people. And so just doing service and just now working as doing service is really what's kept me going. I'm grateful to be here. Go ahead, Dave.
So my name is David Enrique. That's my stage name. David Cepeda is my government name.
The birth certificate. You know what I mean?
There you go. David Enrique is my middle name. But I'm also a person in long-term recovery. For me, that means I haven't had a drink or drug since April 26, 2012. So I'll be coming up on 10 years, God willing. And one day at a time. Also,
double digits.
Yes.
You guys are OGs in recovery. You got years on you. Come on.
Right. Dang.
Love it. And you guys are both from Florida. But which part? Are you guys from the same area, or is it from different parts of Florida?
Right. Yeah, I'm located in Miami, Florida.
Okay.
And our office is in Coral Gables here. And David's. You go ahead, Dave.
I'm in Broward, which is it's the county directly north of Miami-Dade, so just about half an hour away. So
okay,
close enough.
The real question is, guys, the real question I have for you, this is really important. Before we even go forward, the question is Tampa Bay or the Dolphins? Who y'all got? Who's it got? Because I don't want any new Buccaneer fans. I don't want any new Buccaneer fans. I want real ones. We have a problem in the AFC West where there's always new Kansas City fans. I can't respect them. So, Thomas, David, let the world know who you got.
All right, I love Florida. I love Miami, but I'll be honest, I don't go for, at least for the football team.
Okay.
I'm a Raiders guy.
Oh.
Well,
we're
dude, made Jesse's day.
Man, since we're on film now, let me just let them know. You know what I mean?
There we go.
Raider Nation. Come on. Yes, sir. We're brothers. Congratulations, Thomas. You can come back anytime you want. Okay, David, who you got?
Me, I'm not really big into the NFL. I'm way more into college football.
Okay.
I went to two big football schools, University of Florida, University of Michigan.
Seminole.
No, Gators.
Oh, Gators. My bad. My bad. That's Florida
It's
State. That's Florida
blasphemy.
State. My bad. Okay.
But,
I like Tebow. I love Tim Tebow. That's my guy.
Oh, he
Yeah,
used to play
but
on the Broncos.
Nobody cares
There
about
you
that.
go.
Yeah,
Colorado.
Tom.
I don't know. I don't know anything about football. I mean, you guys talk about Miami and football, and I think of like my brain just goes to Ace Ventura because like the Dolphins were featured in that movie.
Yes.
I'm just
Ray
like,
Finkel.
Yeah, Ray
Yeah.
Finkel and Einhorn. Yes.
But because Tom Brady played for University of Michigan, I'm gonna lean towards his team. So
I respect it. As a Raiders fan, we're still bitter. It was a fumble. It was a fumble. Charles Woodson. All right, guys. Anyway, we kind of side-railed the show here, but just thought it'd be fun to open up. But I love the Raiders' passion. We're a Raider Nation. Praise God. I love it. Good stuff.
oh my gosh.
Well,
You're going to have to
let's,
start a new Raider podcast.
Hey,
Man.
Recovery Raider podcast. I love it.
Oh my gosh, there's
they already
probably
got
a
the people in
full-on-
recovery there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Raiders
niche
in
for
recovery.
everything.
That's
Oh
it.
man.
So let's back up a little bit real quick and we won't spend too much time because I know Candace and myself want to get to where you guys are at today. We definitely want to highlight what you guys do on an individual level. But real quick, and if you don't mind, Candace, maybe take a couple minutes. Thomas, just kind of talk about your path of use and what happened and kind of how you got to recovery. And if you can just kind of, if you want to go from there, and then David, the same thing. How's that sound, Candace? Is that okay?
Sounds like a plan.
Cool. So go ahead, Thomas, give us a quick breakdown of how you got involved with substance use and what the path it took you down and so on and so forth, man.
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, my story is that of, going undiagnosed with my mental illness, with anxiety and depression. And, that led me to, finding the solution at the time, which was drugs and alcohol. For me, that was around age 15. And everything changed from there. And my life absolutely got better in my eyes, because I went from being a loner and being, known as the person that doesn't have too many friends and shy and always in fear and anxious, to finally add that connection, with people that I had been wanting all my life. And I got that through drugs and alcohol initially, and I if I got drugs and alcohol, I got friends, you know what I mean? People trying to hang out. So I thought that was what I was looking for. But, for me, I had some good times out of that in the beginning. But the consequences came pretty quick with me, and, getting arrested a few times, before I'm old enough to drink, and dabbling into other substances is, kind of what led me to my first, 12-step meeting, right? You get arrested, they kind of make you go to the 12-step meetings. And that was my first introduction, was through my DUIs. And, I kind of, I heard a little bit, but at the time, when you're 20 years old, you're kind of like, what, I'm not old enough to drink. Why would I stop now? That's my thinking. But, that's not to say that I couldn't have if I didn't seek the support. But, it was just a constant, battle in between wanting to stay sober, not wanting to stay sober, and just wanting to be happy and trying to succeed. For me, I didn't have really any successes until I got into sobriety. Like, I would try to go to college and, go to one class and then stop showing up and get like an F in the class, and, I get on academic suspension, and just taking so much time and thinking that I wasn't capable. And I actually believed that I wasn't capable of going to school and getting back, even though I did good in high school or in my younger years. I thought I had lost it. And so I just came to grips with I guess that's not me. But it was, it was just taking that recovery and that attempt in recovery for me to go back and try to go back to school. And that's really where everything changed for me, was when I got into one of my attempts in recovery, and going back to school and getting my associate's degree, which, it's a 2-year degree that took me about 13 years to get. But I was pretty stoked to get that degree, and that's what kind of set off wanting to keep on going with my education. But that's kind of what led me into recovery and led me into this field. And going back to school for my bachelor's and then getting my master's degree was just a direct result of my recovery. And that's where I learned a little bit about service too. In starting the organization on campus, which was called Panthers for Recovery. And that was like the introduction to service on a different level than just in 12-step meetings. And, it kind of set the stage for what came later, which was Miami Recovery Project. So that's kind of a little condensed version of my story.
Well, so you went to school and you realized there was like a need. I guess I'm just assuming this, but you realized there was like a need for collegiate recovery programs that didn't exist. So you just kind of went out on your own and started Panthers for Recovery.
Yeah. So what happened was, while I was doing my bachelor's degree, I was close to 3 years into my recovery, and I stopped doing everything, the regular story. I stopped going to meetings, I stopped doing the service, and I ended up relapsing while I was still a student at that university. And, when I reached out for help, there was no help on campus for me. And it kind of stuck with me in my head. So when I was luckily, thank God, was able to get back into recovery through the help of people in recovery. When I got back into school, it was something that I knew was needed. And there was, at my university, Florida International University, is upwards of 50,000 students. So, I mean, I don't know what the math is, but you can guarantee a lot of those folks need that support. And that's kind of how Panthers for Recovery was born.
That's so cool. I kind of love it. I can relate. I think, there's Kiva. I think a lot of us we need these services for ourselves. And sometimes it even starts out a little selfishly because we want it for ourselves, but it benefits so many other people. It's a nice spin on how we take, we can be really selfish in our active addictions and it doesn't benefit anybody. In fact, it usually harms the people around us, but we can sort of apply that to our recovery and
100%.
support everybody around us. So I think that's so cool. So cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I met Dave too. I met Dave.
Oh, sweet. Well, yeah, let's maybe segue over there. I did want to ask though real quick, what are your degrees? And you have a bachelor's and a master's?
Yeah, so I got my associates and bachelor's in psychology and my master's in mental health counseling.
Oh, very cool.
Thank you.
Nice.
And I got it later on in life. So I didn't have my associate's degree till I was 30. And I get my bachelor's at, I think it was 32, something like that.
Thomas, are you single or are you married?
I am single. And,
you hear that, lady? He's got a master's degree. He's got 7 years in recovery. He runs a company. He helps people. I'm just giving you a little pitch, Thomas. So out there, single ladies in Florida, Dade County, holler at my boy.
Got a catch over here.
There you go. Hey, I really like the fact, Thomas. You mentioned it earlier. You said you had 7 years and you've had some lapses in between. I love that. Not that I love your relapses, right? But relapse is a part of my story as well, a lot of others as well. And it just, for those listening, I always say this every time we have a podcast. It's like if you just came off a lapse and you have a day, you came across this podcast and you're like, I got a week and I had a couple years, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. And Thomas, you're an example of that. And I think I can't speak for you. I can only guess. But, the relapses really made me who I am today. And it was a good learning experience. And as long as we learn from those experiences, it kind of molds us to who we are. Like, okay, that didn't work. Okay, that didn't work.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot what doesn't work.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I know a lot what doesn't work. And I've learned from that. And, coming back from a relapse, there's a lot of shame and guilt, with that feeling when you come back. But over time, the guilt and shame goes down and the confidence builds up as you start working towards your recovery. For me, absolutely, this last relapse was a wake-up call to take this shit serious. I don't know if I could curse here. Sorry. But,
yeah, curse.
Yeah. All right, cool. Then I'm.
Sarah might have something else to say about that, but
Yeah.
But it's just about, for me, I needed that wake up call to take this recovery thing serious, because I was kind of half in, half out before. Now I'm all in 100%. And now my career is recovery, my life is recovery, everything's recovery, and that's me. I'm not saying that's everybody, but that's what I need, or else I'm falling out.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned from the relapses, and I got a drawer full of chips, of white chips and red chips and all these different chips. It's like they have stories.
Playing poker.
But it all led to me to where I am today, so I wouldn't change it for anything.
Beautiful. Thomas, that's great, man. That's awesome. And then do we want to transition, Candace? What do you want to do? Transition back to our boy David?
Yeah. Thomas had mentioned Panthers for Recovery. That was where or how you and David met. So yeah, David, let's hear a little bit about like your story. What led you towards eventually Thomas and Panthers for Recovery, and then
certainly. So I also have a similar story in that I was diagnosed with mental illness when I was 14. So I'm also in recovery from mental illness, and I was exposed to drugs and alcohol in college at 18, and I definitely also used it to self-medicate my depression and anxiety. And it only took me like 10 years to realize it wasn't working. Well, I actually knew way before that. I just didn't know what to do about it. But yeah, I just got ensnared in addiction, as I know many of you can relate. And it was just that vicious cycle of not being able to go long enough without the drink or drug to reach some sort of stability. I didn't have a support system. I needed to escape and to numb my feelings. I couldn't deal with reality, with my normal healthy emotions. So I was stuck in that phase for a pretty long time, and my drug of choice is actually weed. So that you can tend to be a little more functional with, but it's the same. Like on the surface, everything seems okay, but inside I'm dying. It's hell on earth. And, but like I said, it's kind of a functional drug. So I was able to excel to at least graduate from the University of Florida. That's where I did my undergrad, and then I made it into grad school at the University of Michigan.
Heck yeah!
But I definitely did hit some walls, some bottoms. At UF undergrad, I went from a straight A student my freshman year to straight C's, 2 drop classes my sophomore year, which is pretty much like failing for me. I'd always been a really good student. Almost lost my scholarship. I wouldn't have been able to afford school. I came clean to my parents. They were devastated but supportive. But without consistent support from people going through the same thing, I was able to stay sober out of sheer willpower and fear for like 5 months, but went right back into it. And like I said, managed to make it into grad school, but then also in grad school, I hit a wall where I had this qualifying exam, basically a make or break, whether to continue with my thesis, with my doctorate. And I failed it. And by the grace of God, my committee gave me a second chance, but that was a huge wake up call. And kind of like a slap in the face, like you better get your act together, or your dreams are gonna just slip away from you. And things kind of fell into place. I told my psychiatrist around that time of my daily using and drinking. He referred me to a drug counselor on campus. That drug counselor referred me to a Students for Recovery group, much like Panthers for Recovery. And that group referred me to my first 12-step meeting. And my journey in recovery began there. That was like late 2010. As I mentioned before, my sobriety or clean date is April 26, 2012. So it did take me a little bit to quote unquote get it. But luckily, I stuck around long enough. Inside me was attracted to the recovery lifestyle. And thank God that recovery won the fight for my soul, one day at a time. By putting in the work, doing my part, I've practiced 12-step recovery, but I'm supportive of all pathways of recovery, whatever works. And, so I did my small part, and all of you and my higher power did the rest. And it's been amazing, an amazing journey. Blessings upon blessings. It keeps getting better. Overall, good days, bad days, but overall just, onward and upward. And like I mentioned, part of what, that collegiate recovery program definitely helped save my life. So I don't know if we want to get into it later, but yeah, that's pretty much how me and Thomas ended up connecting, because we're both involved in the ARHE, Association for Recovery in Higher Education, and they have yearly conferences, and that's where we met, I believe, in DC in 2016, 2017, something like that. That's where we met. So, we bonded not only in the realm of recovery, but of collegiate recovery. And, we're in the South Florida area. So I've been lucky to have him as a friend and support for the last few years. And we've collaborated and just, helped the cause in our own ways. So.
Very cool. Yeah, let's go there, because I want to talk about I want to get to all the rad stuff that you're doing now too. So yeah, you all met. How did that work? Were you having like a Panthers for Recovery event that David, you showed up at, or how did it? Yeah.
So yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. 2017, we were in the conference for collegiate recovery conference for ARHE. And I think that was my first conference ever. I was kind of learning about collegiate recovery. I didn't know exactly what other places were doing. And I just so happened to bump into David there in Washington, D.C. And I think he gave me his card. He was like, you working as a professor at I think Broward College, right? One of the colleges there. And, I was just surprised that he was from my neck of the woods. And, that's when, we connected. And a lot of times, he is kind of close, but we didn't connect immediately. Mm-hmm. I think the next time we connected was in Boston or something like that, at the next conference.
So you didn't even connect again in Florida. Yeah, you were in some other major city.
Yeah. To be honest, I got a stack of cards of people, and then I got sidetracked. But then
you just sit there on the shelf.
Yeah. You know how the conference goes. And so when I saw him again at the next conference, then we definitely hit it off and clicked it. And, he came down to some of our meetings over there at FIU. He shared at our meetings, and we had some sober tailgates. And we've been connected ever since. A lot of times it's out of town too.
Sober tailgates.
Yeah.
I like the sober tailgates, man. You talk about tailgates, man. You think of, I'm going to go back to Raiders football. You think about drinking and partying, and man, it's a substance use festival when you tailgate. And So what does that look like, a sober tailgate? Sorry to derail the conversation. I was just kind of intrigued.
Man. I mean, I learned it from, I didn't make it up. I learned it from watching other folks that are doing the collegiate recovery thing.
Yeah.
And I was just like mind blown by like what they're doing. So we had the games, we had the
barbecue,
the crowd, barbecue, and just a lot of energy drinks. And
clean cause.
Clean cause. Yeah. This is brought to you by.
I don't know if it existed yet.
and so we did that, for most of the home games for FIU, and
hell yeah.
It's just another avenue for, even if you're not in recovery, people that don't drink could come hang out with us and still have a great time.
That is like my favorite thing to do, is like,
that's a good point.
Pull people over. Maybe not like permanently, but like, I think that's kind of a problem in our culture. People, even people that don't have like an issue with drinking or are challenged by it, like a lot of people just don't know how to engage socially without social lubrication. And so I'm always so excited to like encourage people to be like, just come like see how you are as a regular human being without any substances on board. And like,
it is very scary.
Really cool.
Honestly, it's very scary at first, because it's like, what is these weird feelings that I have here? But
feel the feelings.
You get used to it. And
what's crazy is I also, I'm sure you guys can attest to this. I also want to make sure in the recovery world we make it inclusive, because when you tell somebody, oh, we're having a sober event, people who drink or maybe casually use cannabis, they feel like, oh, I can't go to that. And that's not the truth at all. Like, we want to bring people. Whenever I have events like, oh, we're having a sober, party, we want you to come, just because you're not in recovery, we still have fun too, probably just as much, if not more. And so I think a part of it too is, letting people know everyone's invited, not just if you're in recovery as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And sometimes we have the best, even better times. We get to remember it. A lot of times we didn't even make it into the game, because I'll be honest, our team sucked for a little while, and
that's how you cope.
We still had a good time
with the team.
Oh goodness.
So you met back in Boston. Sorry to cut you off. You met back in Boston, and so go ahead, Candace. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. So now you guys are connected, doing the recovery thing, tailgating. Tailgating in Florida sounds a lot warmer than tailgating in Colorado. That sounds really
It does.
Cool. At least during football season.
I couldn't imagine Michigan. Oh man.
So so you started the collegiate recovery program, but now you're doing like some bigger things, Thomas, and I want to kind of move into that. Because I'm really excited about, I mean, I'm not in Miami, but I'm really excited for Miami, what you're doing with Miami Recovery Project. And kind of David's like how you're supporting that too. So how did you, so Miami Recovery Project, what is it? And like, how did you decide, or how did you realize, what made you realize that you needed it in Miami?
Sure. So, Miami Recovery Project is RCO, Recovery Community Organization, which was founded last year. And I really started it because I was getting frustrated with Panthers for Recovery, to be honest, because it was, we were having limitations with the administration, and they weren't, moving as fast as we wanted to make it to a full program. We were like a student organization, and students doing everything, and kind of limited resources. And even after I graduated, I was sticking around for a while trying to see it go through. And so when the pandemic hit, I was like, you know what, you gotta get into something else. You know what I mean? You gotta think bigger. And also there was a combination too. I went to a conference called Mobilize Recovery, which was in 2019, the first one. And when I was there,
that's a big event.
It was huge. It was a change. It changed my whole purpose and goals. Because at the time I was just thinking about collegiate recovery and our university and trying to do that. But then I heard this thing called RCOs and recovery community organizations, and a gentleman by the name of Andre Johnson talked about the Detroit Recovery Project. And I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. why is there nothing like this in Miami?
Yeah.
You know, we're known as like the cocaine capital, and we're known as party, and there's no recovery support services. And so that's when the idea started. And fast forward to 2020 when the pandemic hit, I think everybody got stuck at home, and I started actually making some effort to turn this into a real deal. And I started filling out all that paperwork that you need to do the 501c3. And then we started doing all recovery meetings online because everything was online. We started doing events online, workshops. And like, we didn't need too much money to do that, just a Zoom account. Right. And so that's really how it started with the Miami Recovery Project.
So you launched. Sorry,
Candace,
Jeff.
sorry.
I was going to say,
Go ahead, Candace.
Launched like a community organization in the midst, like in the peak, because it was April 2020, right? When like pandemic restrictions were at their peak.
The 2 week curve started.
So you were 2 years later. Wow.
It's a long 2 weeks, man.
How was that for you? Because I operate like a recovery support chapter here in Durango, Colorado, and we had a very thriving community for a few years before the pandemic. And then we saw like a drastic drop in attendance after April. People were struggling. So for that, like an established like chapter community to like lose that much attendance, I'm just like, how was it for you like launching in a virtual space?
Yeah, it worked out for us because we had no funding, we had no money. And so we didn't, we couldn't, if we tried this, before the pandemic, we would have had to figure something out with funding and try to get money. And it worked out best for us because we can kind of build up our organization and start having lots and lots of meetings and not necessarily have to have a space or people even have to leave their house. And David was jumping in the meetings with us. He didn't even have to leave his house. He was up in Broward and people were all over. So it worked to our benefit. The fact that everything was virtual.
Oh, that's awesome. Really, really cool. Cause I kind of am a fan of the virtual stuff. I love like connecting with people in person. But sometimes you're like, I want to cook my food and do recovery at the same time, or whatever it is. Or some people have kids or, doggos they need to feed.
Well, I noticed, Thomas, you have you see a need and you fill it. I always talk about that. You see a need in the community, fill that need. You talked about that in college. You talked about you didn't have support after your relapse. You're like, this is ridiculous. There's no other people like me. So you started something there. And it seems like, both you guys, you see a need in your community and you fill that need. You don't wait for anybody else to do it. Why can't you do it? And the same thing goes for anybody. If you see a need in your community and it's not being done, why not you? And I think you guys have both taken that approach and have definitely filled that need. And like Candace said, especially during the pandemic when it was insanity. But good job on doing that. And secondly, I wanted to touch up real quick. You mentioned all recovery meetings. So both of you guys are 12-step. That's your route. That's also my route, but I also do other routes as well. Recovery is not a one size fits all, right? It's like, whatever helps you, whatever benefits you and betters you is your route of recovery. So kind of talk about that. Obviously, you don't have a 12-step approach to your meetings. What is that recovery meeting like that you guys host?
Yeah, so for the one we host here at Miami Recovery Project, it's just kind of a little bit changed up from what we did at Panthers for Recovery. It's pretty much the same, just like non-denominational. Mm-hmm. Anybody could come for any reasons, any type of support. Sometimes they're coming for mental health support.
Nice.
Sometimes they're just having a stressful day, and that was kind of the idea. And there's no limitations like when let's say you go to a certain 12-step fellowship, it's like, hey, we don't talk about drugs here. We don't talk about alcohol here.
We don't use that word.
I'm like, what? I'm like, there's none of that in an all recovery meeting. And we like to offer other avenues of recovery as well, multiple pathways. And so we make that available here. And we're hoping we have, a couple different meetings here. But we're trying to get as many different pathways as possible, because we know that everybody's recovery looks different, and we want to just provide that avenue for people to make that choice.
Right, you guys do like smart recovery, Dharma recovery, all recovery.
Right.
That's really cool. All the multiple pathways you guys offer.
Yeah. And David was hosting one of the all recovery meetings for us for quite a while, man. And it's just about making that availability. Other options. You know what I mean? And it's not to say one's better than the other, but
no, recovery meetings are cool.
Yeah,
they're like a melting pot. I mean, I've had plenty of people show up to all recovery meetings that like they're like, all I really know about is this one path and it's not for me. And then they can walk into a room where like 5 people are doing things differently. And they're like, oh, like maybe I should try that, instead of just like closing the door on this one way that they knew. It's pretty cool just to see that when people realize there's options.
Absolutely. I think people too who are like doing mat treatment, I totally love that there's another space for people, because sometimes I'll just speak for myself, and I don't want to speak for any other that type of meeting, but the one we were talking about, sometimes people can feel restricted, like, hey, I'm doing mat treatment and harm reduction, and they might feel ousted from these other types of meetings. So that's a great space where they can come, be honest, be themselves, express their pathway, and not feel judged, and so I think it's really, really good what you guys are doing. And I love it. We do one here in Sacramento. I know Candace does hers in Colorado. I always forget. I always want to say Denver. Don't tell me, Candace, you're in Durango.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a Dodge named after us.
The Dodge Durango, Colorado. Yeah,
not the best car.
Yeah. Let's transition. That's okay. To David, and kind of get behind his music. Candace, did you want to kind of pivot towards that?
Yeah. Okay, I definitely want to talk about that. Yeah, because I was totally.
That's how Candace dances.
I never stop dancing. Honestly, like dancing in the morning is better than coffee. If you don't do it, you should do it. But yeah.
You just did a flash mob. Did you just do a flash mob?
Our second one. We did a thriller flash mob for Halloween.
That's awesome.
We spent 2 months learning the choreography, which is really hard. And Michael Jackson was a terrific dancer, and I don't have
really
his
good.
skills.
I was impressed.
Yeah, but no, I'm excited because I heard one of David's songs for the first time a few weeks ago when we were introduced. And I was just like listening to it again last night. I shared it on our Facebook group too, like my local one, which we're like a small community, but people were into it. I'm into it. The song that I'm familiar with is actually the name on your hat, Recovery is Real. So I kind of want to, before we like dip into that, like obviously music is a part of your life. When did you start listening or not listening? When did you start like writing music, and did you start that prior to finding recovery, or what did that look like?
So yeah, I come from a very musical family, especially my mom's side. Everybody either like plays an instrument, sings, produces. My dad is a poet, also some musicians in that family. But yeah, as a little kid, I loved shows like Sesame Street and, music heavy productions or media. So I was singing jingles as a kid, making up stuff, whatever. Might have been gibberish at that stage, but eventually it evolved into something more coherent. I remember writing my first rap about the state capitals in 4th grade. There might have been something before that, but that was.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You rapped about all 50 state capitals?
I love it. He's educational and he's spitting bars, people.
Yeah.
Oh my
I think I made up some words.
Can we hear this? Like, do you remember this, or is this like?
Oh man, I
in the
wish
archives of your brain.
You're on the spot, David.
I probably have it written down somewhere in my parents' attic or something. I don't know. I wish I
We're
still had
gonna
it,
bring you
yeah,
back on for the Capitol rap session. Stay tuned, folks.
I don't
for
really
2.
recall it. I can rewrite one. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, and then in high school, poetry kind of crystallized. I started writing it more regularly.
And that was like after you had been diagnosed like at the beginning of high school with your
yeah, and so it was definitely a therapeutic tool for me, like to get it all out of my system and be creative and express myself. And it kind of took a backseat in college, at least the first years, and then I started taking it a little more seriously. I lived with one of my roommates was a rapper in a local band or group, and so I started writing with him a little bit, and I started making friends, like musician friends, producers and stuff, and I would find beats either through them or on the internet. And then I started, I think my first formal song, well, actually I had one in high school kind of, but the first formal song that I can really remember, or that I eventually recorded, was in like 2006. So I was kind of a late bloomer, but since then it's evolved. I do it, mainly as a hobby. Not really trying to make it in the music industry. I don't think I have the personality for that, or the
whatever. I saw your music video. That was heat. That was like produced.
Yeah.
You owned it. Like you owned it.
Appreciate
it was great.
It was fire.
I appreciate that. I do like to I do like to perform at like a high quality level that I guess would be appropriate or worthy of being in show business. But I don't know, it's at least today, like I make a comfortable living as an educator. The music industry can be draining and lucrative and ruthless and volatile, and
right.
Maybe one day, maybe I'll transition into it. We'll see how things go. I'm open to it, but for now, I just enjoy doing music for me primarily, like I said, as a therapeutic tool, as a tool of self-expression, be creative. For me, it's a spiritual experience. Helps me get in touch with my creator. And, if people love it and get joy out of it, that's a huge bonus. That's a great form of service that I'm happy,
You're right, David. I feel like music can take you back to certain times, good or bad. And, music's so influential. There's certain songs that can be triggering for happy or even triggering for you. So I remember, like we were talking about with Thomas and both you guys, there's some music that helped me through some really bad times when I was using. And there's certain songs I stay away from just because I'm like, I'll be listening to it before I even know it. It's like an internal trigger. And I'm like, why am I sweating right now? You know what I mean? But the music's definitely a pathway of inspiration and also therapy. And it sounds like you've hit that nail on the head. We watched some of your video. Your video production was really good. Just to give you a little side piece, where can people find your videos? Mostly on YouTube, or what other platforms?
So I have 2 music videos. The one you guys are talking about, Recovery is Real, is on YouTube on my channel. If you just type in Recovery is Real, as you see on the hat, I'm pretty sure it's the first thing. But if not, you can also use my stage name, David Enrique, which is on my highlighter.
That video is fire. That video is awesome.
It's so good. I know. I'm like, Makes me want to like hop down to Miami and just come party sober with you guys. Like that looks like fun.
We were at a national recovery event, and David was going to perform there. So I see him pull up, and he has the cameraman there. They follow him everywhere he goes. He's like, "Yo, I'm shooting a video."
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh my God, that's awesome. And then, so he like that. That's how we got included in the video, man. And now it's been like our unofficial official anthem.
Yes.
You know, it's amazing, and we put it on our website and we put it on our social media, and everybody's been, loving it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it on my Facebook. I'm in Facebook jail, guys. I can't even post right now, so I gotta wait. I got 9 days at the house, and I'm hitting the gate. So good time and good behavior, man. So
big house.
I don't know. Mark Zuckerberg don't like me. Shout out to Mark Zuckerberg. But anyway, I'm definitely gonna share your stuff, David, and put your music out there, and it's just really good thing that you're doing. And real quick, sorry to cut you off. You said you're an educator now. Can you talk about that? Do you feel comfortable? Like, what is it you do now?
Sure. So like I mentioned before, I was in grad school I got my doctorate in biomedical engineering, and I was on the research pathway to be, a professor at a tier 1 school or university. And that just in my postdoc in Detroit, I hit a wall. It just didn't work out. Interpersonal conflict. It just got draining. It got isolating. I didn't feel like I was making a direct impact. The research honestly was like above my head, and just, it just, like I said, didn't work out. And so I kind of hit a crossroads where I pretty much had 3 options: either find another research gig, which I tried and nothing really panned out. Try to do industry, but I was in a catch-22 where you need experience to get the job, but you need the job to get experience. And then education was was like the third option, and I had some experience teaching as a TA, and I liked it. And I moved back to South Florida because I couldn't really find anything in Detroit and Michigan where I was. So I kind of started at the bottom of the ladder as an adjunct professor at a local college here in South Florida, and did that for a couple of years, and then transitioned into high school. I loved it. I actually prefer teaching college, but believe it or not, high school pays better with unfortunately money talks, and you got to pay the bills, and
So you're in high school right now?
Yeah, so I teach high school full time, and I still teach college part time.
Man.
So it pays better, but the trade-off is deal with the punk team. But
you get to deal with a bunch of young Davids, man.
Yeah,
you know
right?
what I mean?
I'm paying.
Yeah.
I'm paying back the trouble I gave my teachers. But honestly, I was a pretty good kid. But I actually paid my dues like 4 years ago when I taught freshmen. I was ready to blow my brains out, but luckily made it through that. Paid my dues. I'm teaching more advanced classes to upperclassmen.
Wow.
More. It's crazy how much 2 to 3 years makes in maturity. So,
I was gonna say real quick, man.
Enjoy being a teacher.
You did the raps for your students, man.
Tying it all together. Yeah. I
Amazing.
definitely incorporate rap into the classroom. I write raps about the science, about physics, and
you're a good teacher, man.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
So yeah,
is
I really
Mr. Enrique? Is that the teacher name? Is it Mr. David? Mr. Enrique?
It's actually Dr. Cepeda.
Dr. Cepeda. My bad.
We got a doctor in the house.
He's got his doctorate.
Yeah, I'm a pseudo doctor, not a medical doctor, but I do have the
Still
title.
still a doctorate.
Right?
I'm gonna start calling you Dr. David. That's it.
Yeah, feel free. But yeah, really, it's education. Being an educator is challenging, but rewarding. Like those things that I was missing in research. It's not isolating. You're forced or you're exposed to, building healthy relationships. You get to be creative. I get to rap at work. You don't really get to do. How many people can say that?
Rapping state capitals at work.
Yes.
Yeah, if I ever, maybe I'll pop into one of my, what is that, geography?
I'm just blown away. I'm really just, we're talking to you guys, and I'm trying to comprehend. You guys went from substance use, substance abuse, and down these paths, and both of you right now, I just got to brag on you guys, man. You've reached it, and look, success is in different forms, right? If you work construction, that's successful. Successful is, are you content? Are you happy with what you're doing, right? A lot of times we view success based off paper, and that's not what success is. But you guys in that frame are very successful, and I'm kind of lost for words. Both your platforms right now, coming from where you did, coming from multiple relapses, kind of having to reinvent where you were going to where you're at now. I'm just amazed, guys. David and Thomas, I'm looking at Thomas and what you're doing with your business. And then David, you're a teacher, you're an educator, which, by the way, I speak for everyone listening. Thank you. You're the most underappreciated peoples in this country. And so I applaud you. And I want to say thank you from behalf of myself and Candace and YPR. We love teachers, man. And thank you, David. I'm kind of getting emotional talking to you right now, but you're amazing, man. And 1,000 thank yous. And you guys' success is just like, if anybody's watching this or listening to this, it's just amazing. So sorry, I just wanted to brag about you guys both. I'm just blown away at your guys' success and where you're at. I know, Candace, if you want to say anything else,
No, I appreciate it. And especially too, like, I know, obviously the pandemic was hard for everybody, but I know it was also a real challenge for educators and teachers, because lots of pressure and not a ton of support. Nobody really knew how to handle how that all went down with keeping our youth educated while we're all figuring out virtual platforms. But
yeah, for sure.
Well, so I know we're getting kind of low on time. Something came to mind that I wanted to touch on, and I know we don't have a ton of time though, but I'm realizing, so you guys are down in Miami, and I decided to pull up like the 2019 census report. And Miami has a high population. It looks like about 70% is Hispanic and Latino. And I live in a small rural, white community. I just I don't know, what challenges do you see that might be more specific for the Latino and Hispanic communities in Miami as it relates to recovery?
I'll start. I think a lot is about the services provided being available in Spanish. I know Miami is a little different than the rest of Florida, and so we kind of are a little ahead of that. But I'm part of a coalition that we formed together. It's called the Cultural Compliance Alliance. It's an organization called Lara with Angelo Lagares and Yaya Por Vida. Her name is Yamila. And so we did this in the idea was just to make sure that everything is fair, you know what I mean? So it's harder for someone to seek treatment if the treatment is not available in Spanish, right? Or for the loved ones, right? Or just, RCO in general, right? It's hard enough as it is to get into treatment. So imagine how hard it is for somebody that isn't, that doesn't speak English.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of barriers there that we're trying to get around and trying to help other organizations be culturally compliant and providing those services, and also helping them get that, if they need to get stuff translated or whatever. So that's kind of, a barrier here or everywhere in general. I mean, but like,
oh yeah. I mean, even
Yeah.
here in Colorado, I mean, we don't have the population that like the Latino Hispanic population that you do in Miami, but I mean, we're even trying with YPR to expand services. We developed like our workshops into Spanish translation years ago, and we're kind of finally getting around to like implementing those. We're hiring folks who speak Spanish that can have like an all recovery meeting in Spanish, because like here in Durango, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, I don't speak Spanish, and a majority of the folks that come to my group don't speak Spanish. So we aren't a resource for anybody whose primary language is Spanish, or, who doesn't speak English. Is that something that the Miami Recovery Project is facilitating or working towards?
Right. So I think, yeah, we're working towards, providing like all our meetings in Spanish and
Nice.
providing Narcan training in Spanish. And we've done that, a few times, and we're working towards that. But it's just like making sure that everybody is compliant. Cause like you look at somebody with a disability, and let's say you have, you don't see anybody that has a wheelchair, but you got to have a ramp.
Right.
Or you're not compliant. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that you may see like nobody with the wheelchair, but you got to have it, right? So that the goal is to make sure that everybody has the resources available. Maybe somebody that speaks Spanish doesn't come around, but if they do, you want to make sure that you'll be able to help that person, and not have to turn that person away. So that's kind of what we're trying to get around to.
Yeah, that kind of like brings up, I mean, how would that look? Because I've been thinking about it here in Durango, kind of like tapping into the resource agencies, seeing if we could get almost like a satellite chapter started, so that we can still offer like an all recovery meeting in Spanish. Or would it like make more sense to have like a translator? That just seemed like, I don't know if that would be like effective in an environment like that versus just having like a space specifically created to like be available.
Yeah, it's every environment's different. Everybody's different, so it's like we try to help people figure that out. But I think the best thing to do is to have actually a person there, that has the lived experience, that can tap onto their experience as a person, a Hispanic person, and the barriers that they face, and the barriers that their family has faced, and you know what I mean. It goes more than just the language; it's more of like the history.
Right. Yeah. Well, I like I said, I'm sorry to throw a curveball. I think it's a really important conversation to have, because there's a lot of people out there that aren't able to access resources. People are like, just go plug into a community, and it's like, well, they might exist, but they're limited too, or like they're few and far between. I'm not even sure if in my community there are any. There may be, but I'm not aware of any support services in Spanish. I know you can go to like primary behavioral health care, and those services are available in Spanish to a limited degree, but even still, like that community support is huge in recovery.
Yeah.
Just finding people with similar mindset and lived experience, and like if you can't find that, it's challenging. So I appreciate you speaking to that.
Like seeing a need and feeling it, like we talked about. I live in California, obviously. I'm in the Central Valley in SAC, but we do have a high Hispanic population. Actually, Sacramento's rated one of the most diverse cities in the nation. And so, I know if I have a need in that, my volunteers that help me at my all recovery meetings at our youth homeless shelter, we have some Spanish speaking young people. My Spanish is, horrible, very limited. And they're laughing at me. Poquito, and that's all I know. I know how to order food on the truck, and that's about it, man, but
my Spanish is bad too, but my family, there's some of my family members that don't speak English.
Right.
So it's just like, got to making it available.
Yeah. But I try to always bring somebody. I have a volunteer and she speaks Spanish, and that way I can meet that need. So it's always good. Like I say, if you see a need in the area, fill it. And you guys have definitely done that. But yeah, we're kind of wrapping up now. Kenneth, anything else you want to touch on real quick?
No, sorry. I'm like, I just decided at the end of the conversation, we should probably have that conversation. Like that could be a whole episode.
It's all good.
And probably should be, but no, we'll leave it at that for now, but thanks for chatting about it.
Heck yeah. Well, look, guys, it's coming to an end. Thomas, David, I am just, man, I'm super glad you guys were on here today. You got a friend, hit me up anytime. I know Candace, same thing. You can hit her up. Super proud of you guys. Again, you're educators. You're helping your communities. You guys, man, I put you on a shelf. I put you up there above a lot of people. And so thank you for your time today, taking the time to talk with us and our listeners. And, you know, before we close, and for those listening, just give us any shout outs you want to give, maybe an agency, or once again, recap your agency. And is there any people, organizations, or places that you want to shout out, links, IGs, whatever, go ahead and shoot it out now. We'll start with Thomas and then David.
Yeah, I mean, MiamiRecoveryProject.org. That's our website. You can find all our resources there, our events, anything. Our social media is at Miami Recovery Project on Facebook and Instagram. And, you know, definitely follow us on there. And just, you know, shout out to, you know, you guys for having us. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, my pleasure. David, go on, man. What do you got? You got some shout outs?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. That's probably the best place, at David Enrique, like it's spelled on my label there. David Enrique Cido, so my name, Cido. And you can find, you know, my music on there. And no formal shout outs, just what's up to my family and friends, my wife, all my supports, my friends at Panthers for Recovery and Miami Recovery Project. And also want to thank you guys for your time and energy and love. Grateful to be here. Thanks again for the opportunity and the invite.
Beautiful, man. What a beautiful podcast we had today. It was beautiful people who just really helped their community. I couldn't be more impressed and just more proud of you guys. And so once again, thank you. Once again, guys,
Wait.
Did I mess up?
Wait, no.
Oh,
there's no mess up. We just almost forgot to ask you the most important question.
Most important question. My bad, Candace. My bad. See, I'm messing up, guys.
They're not messing up. We got it. Let's start with David, though. So we ask all of our guests here at Recovery Corner what recovery means to you. So, David, in your words, what does recovery mean to you?
Yes.
To me, recovery is the opportunity to be my most authentic self. It gives me the chance, my best chance to experience heaven on earth, serenity, peace, joy, pain as well, which is necessary for spiritual growth. And, you know, I could go on about all the recovery principles, honesty, integrity, service. But yeah, it's just my pathway to fulfillment. And I'm grateful that, you know, me and Tommy and all of you are spreading that message and making it more accessible to the communities overall and those that really need it. So thanks again.
Beautiful answer. Thank you.
Awesome. I guess recovery to me really means freedom. Freedom from active addiction, freedom from the prison of, you know, being addicted to a substance. But also means, to me, it means giving back and giving service, you know, providing service, helping other people, you know. I'm doing good, and I want to help other people do good too. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just like take, and, you know, I want to give back. So that's really what recovery means to me.
Oh, thank you.
We got by giving it away. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Candace, good catch. I almost, man.
No, it's okay. It's all good. I mean, we're human. But I love what you both said. I just think what I noticed too with like service work, it comes back to you too, you know, like you put yourself out there, you put the energy out there, and then like good things come back towards you. I mean, look at where both of you guys are doing great. just providing services. I mean, you started Panthers for Recovery, just your own blood, sweat, and tears, no paycheck or anything. And now you've got this like successful organization kicking off. And David, you're making awesome music that makes Candace want to dance while the coffee brews in the morning, get all pumped on recovery. And service work is such a beautiful part of recovery because it feels good. And I don't say this so that people can like expect good karma necessarily, but I'm like, it happens. Like, you get back what you put in.
And I'm loving, by the way, real quick, I'm loving the website. I've been looking at the website the last 15 minutes. There's a bunch of QR codes on here, guys, for those listening. If you're in that county or if you're in that area, they got QR codes for Narcan training. They got recovery ally trainings. Check out the website, MiamiRecoveryProject.org. It's kind of got a Miami Vice feel to it. I'm liking it. I'm digging it.
Awesome.
Digging the thing. So good stuff. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay. I think we're good now. We're good now, Candace?
Think so.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, once again, thank you for coming on. And we are your hosts. My name is Jesse Hayner.
And I am Candace Rose, and new episodes are available to stream every other Wednesday as early as 5 a.m. Eastern Time. You can tune in next time on February 9th, where Julia Pratt, who is an up-and-coming singer-songwriter from Los Angeles, joins us. And she's going to be talking about how music has helped her heal and how she's sharing it with the world. Excellent. So as always, here at YPR, we do recover and we are in your corner. Thanks for listening.